going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast, and it is just about that time of year where we are able to start talking about NFL games and everything that's happening. Training camps have kicked off, and we've already had some big injuries. My boy Jalen Ramsey done till December, of course. Why can't we just have nice things? I don't know. Joe Burrow, calf strain, that will directly affect what we're going to talk about here today. And then, C.J. Gardner-Johnson had to get carted off, but he's okay, thank goodness. And Garrett Wilson came up limp one time, but he's okay too. So let's just not have any big injuries anymore, all right? Let's just get to the season and play some freaking football. And with that comes the start of fantasy football. And tonight what I'm going to give to you guys is the perfect first round in a 10-team PPR draft. And this is what everybody should do. These are the first 10 picks along with the rationale as to why. Now, last year, the consensus 1-1 last year was Jonathan Taylor. He was just a given. He was going to go 1-1. Kind of a disappointment. Didn't quite live up to that billing this past season. So this year, is there a true consensus number one? I think there is. And that is Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, Minnesota. He's the very clear number one wide receiver in the NFL. He's the reigning offensive player of the year. Teams knew where Kirk Cousins was going to go with the ball, and they still couldn't stop him. And when you're picking at number one in this draft, assuming this is a snake draft, now obviously there are different kinds of leagues, different kinds of drafts. This is a redraft, 10-team PPR snake draft, right? So if you pick at 1, you don't pick again until 19. If you pick 1, you could take McCaffrey, but he's got some injury history, which we'll talk about. Justin Jefferson has none of that. If you're picking at 1, you have to hit a home run. You have to, because at 19, 20, when you pick next, who knows what's going to be there. 1 has to be a stud because he's got to make up for the long gap you go in picks. So I think that the perfect first pick in the first round is Justin Jefferson. That's just my opinion. At number 2, the guy I just mentioned, I think the second pick in all of these drafts should be Christian McCaffrey, running back, San Francisco. Obviously, he was awesome for them last year. He's one of the most dynamic playmakers on the field, and in a PPR setting, the dude catches a ton of passes out of the backfield. Very, very good. And I know we've attached this label of injury prone to him, but before these past this last year he played all 17 games. The 2 years before that he missed time, but the 3 years before that he played every single game. So yeah, for 2 years he had some trouble, but he just played a full season again. That's 4 out of 6 of his seasons in the NFL have been complete seasons without missing any time. So I like him to stay healthy again this year in a 49ers offense where the quarterback, who knows who it's going to be? It doesn't matter because McCaffrey he was awesome on the Panthers, and the Panthers didn't have anybody at quarterback. So Christian McCaffrey should go number 2 in all of your fantasy football drafts. Which then leads us to number 3, which maybe is where the draft starts for a lot of people because I think Jefferson and McCaffrey are probably 1 and 2 consensus. But pick number 3 in the perfect draft, in my opinion, is running back Austin Ekeler out of Los Angeles. Last year's number 1 overall non-QB player in fantasy. He's a slam dunk once again this year. Last year, 1,600 all-purpose yards, 18 touchdowns. More than a touchdown per game on average. He was a monster. I loved having him. And in a PPR setting, he had 107 receptions out of the backfield, guys. That's insane. That is insane for a running back. I don't think he quite reached the record. I want to say it's closer to 115, but he's right there. And yes, I do think his receiving numbers might take a small hit with Kellen Moore coming over and changing up how that offense works, but not enough for me to be afraid of him catching passes and doing what he does. He's going to get 75, 80 targets again, even with the addition of Quentin Johnston, and hopefully healthy weapons for the Chargers. He's going to get his, man. Austin Ekeler's a stud. He's going to get his. So I think that he should go at 3 right after Christian McCaffrey because he's just like Christian McCaffrey. Pick number 4. I'm going with Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. And this is assuming that Joe Burrow's calf injury is nothing serious and that he's good to go come season time. And while he's not as dominant as Justin Jefferson, he is still S-tier wide receiver in the NFL, and he's on one of the most explosive offenses in the entire league. Since rejoining Joe Burrow, he has been genuinely unstoppable. He only managed to play 12 games last year, and he still finished as wide receiver 11. So he missed 5 games, 5 of their 17 games, and he still finished as the 11th best wide receiver in fantasy last year, cracking 1,000 yards, putting up his touchdowns. Stud. So as long as Joe Burrow's good to go, Ja'Marr Chase has to be the pick. Now, will we know? We won't know Joe. Depending on when you draft, you probably won't know Joe Burrow's status. But with a calf strain, hopefully it's only right up to the start of the year. Yeah, he'll probably miss preseason, whatever. Doesn't matter. But as long as he's good to go for week 1, Ja'Marr Chase is good to go for week 1. All right. I think those are the 4 top players in the draft. For fantasy purposes, I think those are the 4 guys. Jefferson, McCaffrey, Eckler, and Chase. And you can argue amongst yourselves who you think should go in what order, but I think those are the first 4 guys. This is where the draft really does begin, in my opinion. And at pick 5, I think it's got to be Travis Kelce, tight end, Kansas City. Yes, I know, it's a tight end. It's not pretty. It's not the sexy pick here. But hear me out. Give me a second and let me change your mind. He was the 8th best non-quarterback in fantasy football last year, outscoring the second-place tight end by over 100 points. By over 100 points over the second-place tight end. That is a huge difference in week to week, especially if your playoffs start week 13, 14. I mean, that's almost an extra 10 points from the tight end position right there. That's insane. He is Mahomes' number 1 target, and it's not going to change this upcoming season. He's still the guy for Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback with Andy Reid coming back. I mean, that offense is just going to keep doing what they do. Kelce's not slowing down anytime soon. You take Travis Kelce, you forget about the tight end position. You just forget about it. Plug him in, play him the whole way. If you're picking at 5, you're picking every 10 picks. I still like the receivers and running backs that are going to be on the board at pick, 15 or 16 for you. But the tight ends, I mean, then you're not taking a tight end probably to 4th or 5th round, and it's a throwaway, and you're probably getting 10, maybe 10 points a game. Kelce can put up 3 touchdowns in a game. He's done it several times, did it at least once. I think he scored 4 touchdowns in a game last year. I think Travis Kelce at 5 is a great pick, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I know it's a tight end, but at this point, the value for what he does is unstoppable. He's so good. Travis Kelce is so good. Pick 6. The guy who was supposed to die last year in fantasy football, the fellow who left Patrick Mahomes and was going to Miami where they don't have a quarterback that can throw him the ball, and his career is never going to be the same. And what did Tyreek Hill do? Just had the best year of his entire career, putting up over 1,700 yards. Just absolutely balled out. Number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football last year. I do have him below Chase in this draft because I think Chase, with the injuries, obviously, and you would hope he does get hurt this year. But wide receiver 2 number last year, only finishing a point per game behind Jefferson on average. I think Jefferson averaged like 21.7, and Hill averaged 20 point something in there. So only about a point behind Jefferson every week. And we were just talking about how dominant Justin Jefferson is. Tyreek Hill is still that guy. I mean, he has come out and said himself this offseason, last year he didn't really understand the offense. He was just out there running routes and hoping that it worked, and it was. Now he's second year of the same offense with the same quarterback, same setup and everything. He knows what's going on. That is a scary thing, and he has come out and said he is getting 2,000 yards this year. Will he? I don't know, but I think he'll definitely continue to catch at least 100, 115 passes this year, just like he did last year. And he's going to be awesome. And the Miami Dolphins offense can support that. They did it last year with Jalen Waddle having a fantastic year as well. I mean, those two combined for 3,000 yards together. That's insane. Tyreek Hill is going to continue to ball this year, and I think getting him at pick 6 is a great pick because, especially in PPR, he's going to get the targets, man. He's going to get the targets. So I'm going Tyreek Hill at pick number 6. Pick number 7. Putting Saquon Barkley here to go at pick number 7, mainly because I saw he just got his deal put together. Well, he signed the 1-year deal with the Giants, so he's not playing on the tag per se. He got a little extra money, so good for him. He's happy. I'm happy. Because when Saquon Barkley played last year and was on the field, that Giants team was good. He is the engine for that team. Daniel Jones, who? It's all Saquon Barkley. That's what it is. They need him. If they want any sort of success this season like they found last year, he's going to have to touch the ball 300 times at least. He had his best season since his rookie year. I mean, he carried them to the playoffs, guys. He was a stud, and maybe you'd like to see him do a little bit more in the passing game. His rushing numbers are just so good, and he doesn't have the contract issue looming anymore. He's not holding out like a Josh Jacobs is. And there's no good number 2 running back there. I think Saquon Barkley's going to have another great year with Brian Daboll and second year in that offense. So I think Saquon Barkley at pick number 7 is a great spot for him. Pick number 8, I've got Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams here. And while, yes, the Raiders were a complete disappointment, Davante Adams was just as good as advertised. He had the second most touchdowns of his career and the second most receiving yards of his career last year with Derek Carr, who didn't understand the offense, and Davante Adams probably didn't understand the offense either. He even put up big numbers with Jarrett Stidham at the end of the year. I mean, Davante Adams is going to get his. And I understand that the big concern is quarterback play, but I'd argue that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have a better grasp of that offense day one than Derek Carr had at any point last season. So I completely expect Davante Adams to continue to put up his numbers regardless of the team and how they're playing around him, because he is unguardable when it comes down to it. I mean, you just throw it up to Davante, man. He's going to come down with it. Davante's an absolute monster. I don't see him going anywhere. There's been some chatter about him wanting to go to I don't see him going to the Jets. I don't know why that's even a thing, why we're even talking about that. That's just some rumor. He's going to play in Vegas again, which is where he wanted to be, and he's going to put up, his 1,500 and his 15 touchdowns. He's just going to get his numbers. So picking him at pick number 8 is an awesome pick. Plug and play, number 1 wide receiver for your team. All right, picks 9 and 10 were super tricky for me. These were the ones I thought about the most. And I still don't like it. Looking at the 2 picks I make here at 9 and 10, I still don't love it, but I'm going to roll with it. So pick number 9, give me the rookie running back. Give me Bijan Robinson in Atlanta. I really like Josh Jacobs, and I really like Nick Chubb, and I really thought about those 2 here at the end of the first round, but neither of them have the pass-catching upside of Bijan Robinson. Just today, I don't know if you guys have seen the clip of Bijan dusting that linebacker in coverage and then pulling in the pass one-handed. That's what he brings you. This guy is like Saquon Barkley. That's who we're comparing him to. Go look at what Saquon did his rookie year on a team that was not as good at running the ball as the Atlanta Falcons are. Tyler Algier went well over 1,000 yards last year behind that offensive line. What do you think somebody with the talent of Bijan Robinson is going to do behind that offensive line? I understand, Najee Harris scared some people with how he performed, and he was considered a first-round pick in fantasy drafts because of his draft status, and he flopped. I think he's the exception as opposed to the rule, because you look back at first-round running backs who have been taken. Leonard Fournette was a stud. Zeke Elliott was a stud. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs has been a stud. All of these guys have come out and balled, and behind that offensive line in Atlanta, I really think he could be good. I truly believe he'll finish as a top 5 running back in fantasy football this season. They're going to use him. This is Arthur Smith we're talking here. He's just going to run the ball. It's what he does. So don't draft Kyle Pitts, don't draft Drake London, and don't draft Desmond Ridder. They don't have a quarterback, obviously. So they're just going to hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson. I mean, he might get 350 carries this year. He might be the new Derrick Henry. So give me Bijan Robinson at pick number 9. And then pick number 10, I don't know how people are going to feel about this one. They may think he shouldn't even be on the board anymore. There's so much talent in the NFL, so much talent. Pick number 10, I'm going with Cooper Kupp here. Obviously, he's a stud, right? We know that. We've seen what he can do with the full season. Over 2,000 yards. He was amazing for the Rams. And did he get over 2,000 yards? He was right there. I don't remember now. But, he was amazing for them. And he's going to get, the big point here for him is that he's going to get all the opportunity in the world to be a stud and to get all of the catches and all of the targets, because he's all they have, guys. He's all they have. They don't have any other weapons. Van Jefferson, I don't care about that. I'm sorry, Van, no offense. It's all Cooper Kupp. It is all Cooper Kupp. He's going to get 150, 160 targets, and he'll haul in 125, 130 of them. So there's a ton of PPR points right there, and he'll find the end zone as long as he stays healthy. If there was even a remotely competent weapon in Los Angeles outside of him, I would have him down the board a little bit, and I'd put someone else in here. But it's just him. So if Stafford can stay healthy and play, and Cooper can stay on the field, even when he struggled last year, he only played in 9 games, and he was the 23rd best wide receiver in fantasy last year. He played half the season, and he ranked 23rd. That's awesome. That's insane points per game. So I think he could end up being a great steal for somebody picking at 10th in their league. Especially, he's like a high floor guy, in my opinion. That could be a super high ceiling also. Take a swing and a miss at pick 11 if you want to, because you have that wraparound pick here. But I think Cooper Kupp is somebody you should take a risk on at the back half of the first round. I've seen people taking him top 5. I don't know about all that, but if he's on the board at pick number 10, I think that's somebody you pull the trigger on. So yeah, those are my first 10 picks. In a perfect world, those should be your first 10 picks in fantasy football. If you disagree, let me know. If you put someone else in there that I didn't, let me know. And let me know if you guys want picks 11 through 20. I'd be happy to keep it going. I also am probably going to put out a couple of fantasy mock drafts with different formats here for you guys to kind of get a feel of what we're looking at. Football starts, I think this upcoming Thursday we have the first game. It's the Hall of Fame game, which whatever, but it's football. It's the first football game where we don't know what the final score is. That's all I care about. It is about that time, everybody, and we cannot wait. Stay tuned for our in-studio show coming up real soon. We're going to break it all down. You're going to get a ton of content. What's going to happen this year? We cannot wait. We're super excited, so we'll be seeing you guys in those. Thanks for stopping in, and we will catch you later.